Welcome to your Health is Wealth podcast, the podcast that invites you to embrace a profound truth that your health is your wealth. I'm your host, Kristen Burke. With each episode, we journey into the world of health and wellness. We cover topics such as nutrition, fitness, health and safety, alternative medicine, integrative practices, holistic healing, and transformative coaching, all designed to empower you to thrive in mind, body, and spirit. Whether you're just beginning your wellness journey or deepening a lifelong practice, you've found your community. Today, in our episode titled Episode 13, Your Cosmic Blueprint, Love, Money, and the Life You Were Born to Live, our special guest is KMoon, who is a Western astrologer. Today's guest is a rare gift. She makes the cosmos feel useful. She's one of my favorite astrologers, KMoon. She's a clairvoyant and clairaudient astrologer known for her grounding strategic approach to working with the stars. Reading professionally since 2017 for a global audience, Kay's work centers around something I find very compelling: helping people move through the passive prediction into consciousness participation with planetary cycles. Rather than treating astrology as something that happens to you, Kay teaches her clients how to engage their natal blueprint in clarity, discernment, and choice. Her work emphasizes emotional sovereignty, timing, and personal responsibility, using astrology not as a forecast, but as a tool for integration, direction, and long-term transformation. We're also thrilled to have two incredible guests joining us for live readings today. Diana, who's a health tech entrepreneur, and Zsuzsi, an entrepreneur and human design coach. We're going to allow them to ask some questions regarding their chart today. Kay, welcome to your Health is Wealth podcast. We're really excited to have you today to share with us more about astrology and how it can help people navigate their day-to-day life.
I'm honored. It's so much fun to be able to talk about this topic, especially in a moment of such high change. Collectively speaking, we see so much dynamic movement for people in this present time that to be able to have a conversation like this and share a tool that I have found quite useful in my life, my clients certainly enjoy using. I have found it a path of empowerment for people, one that enhances their innate spirituality and connection to the divine, however they see it, rather than replacing it. So I'm really glad you invited me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you. I am going to let one of our first guests in. Hey, Diana, thanks for joining us. This is KMoon, Diana.
Hi, KMoon. Nice to meet you, Diana. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Zsuzsi will join us at the half of the hour. I'm going to just ask some general questions of KMoon, and then we'll just see how things authentically move. And then we'll probably start with your chart. Okay?
Sure.
All right. Very, very excited about this. It'll be great. Thank you so much. All right. Let's start things off with your background. I find it really interesting how astrology, and for many years, I really was afraid of it. I wasn't sure what it was. And a friend of mine introduced me to it. And then, of course, many years ago, I found you. I think it was 2020 when everything was just very uncertain with COVID. So I'm curious what brings people to different amazing tools and gifts. And for you, I'd like to see what you would like to share on that.
You know, I found astrology at a season in my life that I guess you could call it like my private pandemic. It was one of like the worst years of my life. So many things had happened in back-to-back quick succession. I made a pivot in my business that just didn't go as I had thought it would and ran out of like runway in order to continue to hold my apartment where I was living. So I needed to move back into my parents' home while I figured it out. I found out that I had fibroids and then a thyroid thing, and that I owed the IRS like 60 grand. And then my grandfather died, and then my grandmother died. And it wasn't like just one area of life collapsing. It was like dominoes. They all fell. And then I had a boyfriend at the time who we were long distance, and I was living at my parents' house, and he was living across the country from where I normally lived. He moved to where I normally lived to be with another girl. I mean, all of it was just, you can't write a comically more tragic like series of unfortunate events unfolding for a person. And I would work so hard to turn my business around during the day, but my solace and comfort at night had this astrology app. And like many bad sleep hygiene habit, I would just bathe in the golden or the blue light of my phone every night, trying to figure out what the heck was going on with my life at that time. Transit after transit in the app, I would then open Google and read through. This was back at a time when Google still had a first page instead of an endless scroll. And I would click on the link to the first page and I would read everything that article or blog had to say about what that transit was about. And it was then that I stumbled on a particular transit that the Vedics know as Shani Sati Sati, 7.5 years of Saturn. And I was at the peak point, and it's a season designed to help you come into congruence with your lifelong lessons. Learning astrology for me took place in a self-taught manner in that regard, and it was much less like learning and significantly more like remembering. It was the experience of my clairaudience also tuning in and after I'd finish an article and say, and then what you need to understand is this, and this are also true, but this, and this are not. And it alters when you add this element. It was like remembering something I'd studied for lifetimes for me. After that year, and once I kind of figured out, oh, this is how I navigate this, randomly I ended up getting a fintech job. The job went, well for what it could be. It's a volatile industry, the startup industry in any field, but fintech in particular, unless there's, something really differential, and navigated my way from there. Side hustled as an astrologer until the side gig started to take over as the main gig, which I was not anticipating, but it did. And it made sense to step into it full time. And that's how the KMoon YouTube channel was born.
Wow, that's incredible. The YouTube channel. How long did it take you to get it going? It was a difficult lift, just trying to get subscribers. How long did it take? And how did you bring people in?
Yeah. Great question. So I do have a background in marketing and online marketing and email campaigns and just the structure of online marketing as a solopreneur to begin with. I had already been in that vein for a good 8 years prior to jumping into this. So I just migrated those skills to this platform for work. And while I certainly relied on the YouTube algorithm, which was significantly more friendly to spiritualized content at that time, it's still quite friendly now, but there's a saturation, and YouTube really is doing a great job at making sure that it's not AI generated content at present. Back in the day, it was just if you were getting clicks, likes, and views, they were serving you up, feeding you out. And so it was a much different space at that time. I combined the algorithmic reach and lift with what I already knew how to do, which was collaborative reach. I reached out to channels that at that time were permitted to reshare, repost content, almost like a news aggregate for spiritual creators. And some of them shared my content, and then that continued to also grow my channel. And then as I continued to grow, I just connected with folks and they shared and I shared. There was a lot of cross pollination, which I still do a lot of at present time, to just introduce myself, introduce people to astrology and what it can do for them, because the way I approach it is a very different perspective. And simultaneously to introduce my audience to people and resources that can empower them as well. So that combination of organic through the algorithmic reach, as well as earned through cross-pollination and sharing, has been the way I've worked the marketing to facilitate growth for the KMoon YouTube channel.
So not only are you an astrologer, but you're an entrepreneur at heart. So you understand how business works. You didn't just show up with the astrology on the woo, is what people would call it, right, on one side, but it actually, there's math behind it. There's a science behind it, which that's what intrigues me. It literally brings in left brain, right brain. And depending on what you focus on is how it can be perceived, I would imagine.
100%. I feel like that's sort of my why I can do what I do with the subscriber base that I have, like why it's survivable and thrivable for me, is because I understand that it exists within a business framework and context of marketing. And I embrace that. Let me put it a different way. There's no magical thinking happening here.
Right.
Yeah.
So that actually brings me to the next question. Just curious, who taught you astrology?
Marketing or
No,
astrology?
the astrology. Did you have multiple teachers or was there one main teacher?
Self-taught. I learned it that year. I
Wow.
was living at my parents' house, staring into the pale blue light of my cell phone at night. As I read and remembered, I also found that my guidance team chimed in with greater specifics and clarity. And as I started to get toward the close of that year, they sat me down one afternoon and they said, open up your notes app. And they took me planet by planet and they mapped out every planet and the asteroids that I use. As you know, I use a lot of asteroids just because they came with my software, which is the time passages software from Astrograph. They went planet by planet, asteroid by asteroid, and they mapped out light, neutrality, and shadow for every single one. And they said it is very important when you work that you speak to the neutrality first. Then you let people know things can play out light or shadow based on choice. And this is where we have the integration of fate and free will in my work, that it's never just one or the other. There's always both at play in our mastery as divine beings incarnate.
And you have such a beautiful way to read, whether it's live readings, YouTube readings, general readings. You're looking at not just the planets, the houses, the signs. You do a beautiful job defining in general terms to people who don't even know astrology to understand what those energies are. And not only that, but with the asteroids, which not a lot of astrologers focus on, and how they connect, how to transit can impact your own natal chart, right? I think that's what drew me in. Just having that free education, which you have, bless you, you have provided a lot of that to the community. And then, of course, you have other options that people can go into if they want a one-on-one or more deep dive. With that, you do talk about areas where it can give people a good guidance on their job or wealth or building a business, that type of thing. So what houses would you look at? And you're going to pull up a chart when Diana and Zsuzsi come on, but also you have another bonus that you're going to show the folks. What houses would you look at in the astrology?
Yeah. So it depends on like the specifics of the question, but
Mhm.
and what somebody's really asking. The first thing I'm doing, I forgot to take out my little notepad to make it easy to annotate. We're going to look at some charts and I'm going to draw. I'm a
Ooh,
teaching astrologer. So as you mentioned there, so thank you.
yeah.
I want to make sure that I point out what I'm looking at and
Okay.
why I'm interpreting it the way I interpret it. And I'll keep it light, not technical, because so that it's easy to follow. But when somebody's asking me about work, career, or money, or service, or mission, or purpose, I'm specifically looking at their 10th house. That's kind of mission in the world, who we are when we're free of all the conditioning of the fourth house, which is our past, our family, our childhood, culture, race, religion, ethnicity, all of that. That 10th house is who we are, where we've really stepped into the freedom from that conditioning. And you could almost say it's like who us and God, the divine, decided we were going to be before we jumped into this body, when we are in that pure radiance of divinity incarnate. That's 10th house. When we're making it work in terms of resource exchange on the planet, I'm going to give these dollars for these hours or these gifts and assets that I possess. Now we're bringing in the second house. When we're looking at, okay, and who does this benefit on the planet? Because it can't just be for me and mine. It also, we're all interconnected here. It has to be exchanged with others, service to others. Now we're tying in house 6 and the communication between all 3 houses. What signs are on those houses? What do the governing planets say about those houses and the way they're meant to perform? That reveals to us life path, mission, purpose in a broad sense. And then within that, people are free to really pursue what lights them up as passion. What I have found is that when people are really struggling in one of these areas, they're under earning or financially dissatisfied and unfulfilled, they feel misaligned, they're bored at work, or they feel underutilized, they're not making an impact. These 3 houses, one of the work they're doing doesn't fit all 3. The sweet spot is the place where all 3 get to be tapped and utilized.
Wow. I can't wait to see you show us with the real charts today. That's going to be exciting, pulling that all together. I would imagine you get a lot of questions about romance too, relationships, relationship with self, relationship with others. Do you want to expand on how you would, of course, it has to do with a specific question, right? But how would you look at that, relationships or romance?
You know what? Yeah, it really depends on the question. Sometimes people have questions about patterns, like, why am I like this sort of questions? Or not, why am I like this, but why have I run into the same relationship challenge over and over? And they always present like this. What am I missing? With that, I can again look in the chart for light and shadow and neutrality. Typically, if there's a problem, something's playing out in shadow. And so I can, which house is it? Is it 5, dating, flirtation, and romance? Is it 6? Notice 6 has a little overlap here. That's the link to the 7th house. The 6th house is where someone could ostensibly considered becoming a part of our day life. The 7th house is the marriage and the commitment. That 8th house is considered physical intimacy. It's the house where 2 merge and become one in that blissful act. So, depending upon what the question is, I'll check the houses, I'll check the house rulers, I'll double check, is this a light or shadow energy of one of these? And if it's none of the above, I dig deeper. I'll start to look at what are the childhood patterns presenting in the preceding house, which is house 4. What's mom and dad like? Mom's represented by moon in a chart. Dad's represented by Saturn in a chart. What was the relationship between mom and dad? What's the relationship between Saturn and moon in a chart? By delineating some of these things, I can get a sense of everything from a person's true core needs, the kind of partnership they're going to thrive and succeed in, their attachment style and their blockages, anything, their emotional patternings, their emotional sort of blocks, but also their emotional gifts. Like, where do they really shine in a relationship? What do they bring to the table that really needs to be nourished and nurtured and not just laid out for any passerby to pick up. So you can see a lot about relationships inside of a chart. I can also see from, if I layer in the transiting perspectives, I can see, is this just a season of growth or is this a lifelong challenge? Because if it's a season of growth, there's a lesson here. Once you integrate that lesson, everything gets dramatically easier. Things begin to unlock. But if this is a lifelong challenge, this is about an orientation to a brand new mindset and a brand new behavior set that's going to allow things to flow with more ease.
That makes sense. And I didn't realize when you dig deeper, going into that fourth house and certain aspects you're looking at, that's really fascinating. The other thing is, I try to meditate on a daily basis and study consciousness. Have a long way to go with what to learn with that. But it's interesting why we have the shadow and the light, and neutrality represents that balance within, right? So you probably tell based on the questions or the interaction with folks what might be coming up, right? Shadow or light, or whether they're in a neutral space. That's helps maybe guide some of the readings, I would imagine.
Sometimes, yeah, it what delineates in the way that I read the distinction between something playing out in shadow versus light, and I really want to be clear about this, is choice. Let's take, for example, Mars, right? Mars is a planet that frequently gets a reputation for being the god of war, right? Aggressive, domineering, forceful, these sorts of things. But that really is only Mars in shadow. Mars also just represents action, movement, forward movement, and momentum. In light, that turns into ambition, it turns into drive, it turns into the passion for taking an action. But that doesn't have to be something that's negative, right? And so if we can really take a look with the transits upcoming and see with the neutral eyes, especially in a moment where the world seems to be rife with so much strife and division and separation consciousness. If we're able to take the transits and step back and say, okay, this actually has a way that it can play out that it doesn't have to look so painful. What could that be? How could this energy also be harnessed and leveraged for love, for light, for connection, for growth, for abundance, for miracles? Where does that option and door lie? When we're able to do that, that's when we've really started to step into our divinity mastery incarnate. And so that's something I really try to empower people to do with the work.
Listening to a couple of your videos actually opened that door for me with perspective and perception, and how something can feel or appear to be bad, shadow, negative. But if we look at it from a different angle, that could be the opportunity where we can make the change, right? When things are easy, that's where we're not growing. It's those opportunities, which we sometimes label as challenges, could feel like that, or we could change how it feels for us personally through navigating those waters. And that's the tool that you share with the community, is how to navigate those waters.
You got it. One thing I'll also add in as a layer here for those who, decide to come subscribe to the KMoon YouTube channel, you'll hear me provide new and full moon lunar updates. 2026, when this is airing, 2027 too, frankly, and 28 are going to be years of significant transformation, growth, and change. The very same transit that is going to set a stuck person free can set a person oriented for movement on fire. And so it's really important to know like where you sit on the spectrum. And I do a lot on the channel to try to communicate that with some of these transits because all of us, we're in an ascension process and consciousness right now. And the transits are set up to take all of us there, not just the chosen few. And not all of us can move at the same rate, at the same pace. We don't all have the same makeup. And so certain transits will be really enhancing for some. They'll be really unnerving for others, the same transit. But if you can really understand, okay, this is when I need to do more nervous system regulation because this transit was designed for the stuck people and I'm not a stuck person.
Yeah.
Or I am a stuck person in this area of life. So I'm going to put a few things on hold and really focus on getting unstuck in this one area so that I can move this along too. Harness this transit for movement. I speak in a way that allows you to really come into that self-awareness and self-mastery and move your life according to where you know you are in your growth edge.
I love that. Would you like to talk a little bit about some of the programs that you have, Star Club, Manifestation, Mastery?
Yeah, of course. So I am presently around the time of this airing, you're going to see I'll have just finished enrolling for a program called Manifestation Mastery. I tend to air it when we have a very specific transit in the sky. Most of 2026 will have a sextile between two planets, Jupiter and Uranus. Uranus is divine activation and Jupiter is amplification. And when they come into communication, there's a new timeline available for us to jump onto. We get to decide what that looks like and what that is. We get the opportunity to really see how malleable timelines are and start to play with calling things into form out of the ether. We're in such a timeline as this now, and you may really hear your thoughts turning into things quite quickly in this energy, like having a random passing thought while washing the dishes. Next thing you know, it's something that's unfolding. You see it on the news, you catch it in the grocery store. A friend brings it up in conversation the very next day. It makes the third dimension, rather than woven threads of fabric, almost like, and you will see experts in the ascension field talking about this, a plasmic field that has far more dynamic movement available to us for quantum leaps and quantum movement. So manifestation mastery is a 2-day workshop that teaches you how to tap into your personal manifestation blueprint to navigate this field with even greater ease. Because everyone isn't meant to script or visualize or vision board or affirm. Some people that's always going to work well for. It's because it's part of their blueprint. Other people are going to get mixed results because it's not part of your blueprint or it's only partially part of your blueprint. And so in manifestation mastery, I'm delineating specifically what is your blueprint, what are your techniques, how do you work with this plasmic field of quantum movement so that you can generate what you want to see on the planet. Star Club is where we take that a step even deeper. It's not a graduate program, it's a continuation container. And Star Club allows us to have multiple ongoing touch points in a month where I provide things like journal prompts, ritual work to facilitate your connection to the third dimension and your mastery over your world. We hear the alleged rumor that the elites are always using astrology and things of the like to control the world. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I know for a fact that you can actually use this like a tool to have mastery and authority over your own reality. You don't have to be a victim to energies. You can wield energies. And Star Club is the place where I'm teaching my students and my members, how do you do this? What's happening in the sky? What are the choice points? How do you make it real for you to navigate from A to B to C? There's a Stellium membership, which is $22 a month, and that gives you full access to live Q&A with me a couple times a week in some cases. Other times it's once a week, and live events about astrological things happening in the sky. We get to go deeper, as well as you get to learn a little bit about astrology along the way. So definitely check it out. You're going to have the links, right?
Yes, I'm going to share your website, the links, YouTube channel, all of that with any of the promotional stuff affiliated with the podcast as well when we launch that. We'll make sure everybody has access to all of those details too. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to now transition to another segment, something that I think is really special. There's 2 readings, Diana and Zsuzsi, which she'll be joining us soon, have each shared their birth data. Thank you so much. With Kay ahead of today. And Kay is going to offer some insight to their charts within the podcast. So this isn't a full reading. It's just more to answer some basic questions. And so let's just see what comes up with each of you. And Kay, if you want to share your screen and jump right in, I'll let you guide.
Hi, Diana. It's so nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this reading.
Awesome. Okay, so I have your chart here. I want to just confirm my fingers have done correct work. Can you have a look at the top and bottom and just confirm these are your birth details?
Yes, that is me.
Okay, perfect. We can talk about whatever you want. Now that you kind of know how I read and what I get up to, I would love to know what would be of service to you today.
Thank you. I think the main themes are professional pursuits, which I don't really like to your point earlier, I don't like to bifurcate out what I do for work and who I am as a person and my soul path and what I'm being called to do. So I don't really like that distinction, but I definitely am in a really meaningful transition in when it comes to the work that I'm doing. And I'm excited for any insights on kind of what the next right thing to do is, what to listen to, what the signs are saying around that. And then in addition to that, love life, which is always really fun to get into. I'm going to volunteer myself to get into what the future holds or any guidance that you can see in that regard.
Okay, great. I can see that you are in the middle of a work transition and figuring out just what's next. And that's really indicated here. I've just put a transit chart here on top of your natal chart, which is the inner circle. The transits let me know what changes are unfolding in your life in present time. Okay, so as I'm looking, your midheaven is governed by the sign of Aquarius, and we see Uranus as and Saturn as the planetary governors of Aquarius. Your natal Saturn is going through a massive change this year. That change is being brought on by, we see Jupiter is going to square it. When Jupiter arrives at early degrees Leo, that's going to bring expansion. But then we also see a square from Pluto in Aquarius because your natal Saturn is at the 2nd degree of Scorpio. Because the ruling planet of the career house is receiving such heavy hitter transformation this year, this lets me know, Pluto lets me know there's an ending and a closure to one season and one chapter, which I think you've probably felt. You've probably felt it since 2023, summer of 2023. And that was when Pluto was more close to exact square, building square. And now you're clear that, okay, yeah, there's a chapter over, but what is next? When I consider the what's next for you, let's just take a look back at the natal chart. First of all, greater clarity does look like it arrives once Jupiter moves over here to your third house into Leo. Third house is consciousness, awareness, Jupiter's expansion. And then from that position, Jupiter will trine, harmoniously speak to Uranus, the modern day ruler of your career sector in your service sector. That's the sixth house. When that happens, and as I would say you probably already have some ideas. I don't see that you're without thoughts about this. I see you nodding. Okay, great. There's not only will the ideas crystallize, but it also seems to me that momentum and speed pick up. I want to give you a timeline here as some collaborative people begin to show up. These collaborative people look like they could fall in the category of siblings, cousins, or neighbors, aka soul family. I call them friends that are close enough to be family, like framly. Some of those folks look like they either have ideas or guidance or opportunities that align with exactly what you've been thinking you might move into. Let me give you an exact timeline here. New transit date. I want to get into the 6th month. I want to take it a little further. I want to see the end of the 6th month. Yep. So right around the 20th to the 30th of June, this is when a door opens or a passageway. I like to call these windows of time, where between this date and this date, and I'll give you the end date, these are when some of those ideas and then people who can really help with the ideas begin to show up. When this happens, I want to mentally prepare you because of this opposition to your natal Jupiter and Uranus here from Mars and Uranus. These things are going to happen at lightning speed, like quantum speed. It's going to be overnight. It's like, yeah, so I started an alpaca farm in Argentina last month. Like this sort of like, I was dreaming it in May and it's done in June. This sort of overnight sort of quantum movement it does look like it's quite possible given the layout of your chart and the planetary actions here. So just mentally prepare yourself. If it's felt like it's been slow or stagnant or like the decks have been cleared, but you can't figure out why, it's just like this open space now all of a sudden, it's because things are about to move and they're going to move real quick. I see you nodding. So I imagine that.
I'm here for it. Bring it.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. You have this thing in your chart. So I was talking about this earlier with manifestation mastery, that there's a sextile between these two planets. But you have in your natal chart a conjunction between these two planets that make you kind of prone to be a walking manifestation activator, and that's a conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus, and it's over here in your 6th house. Our next guest also has the same conjunction, which is, yes, I won't say it's unusual, like rare. It's not very common, but I will say to see two people who have it in the same room at the same time, that's rare. This is going to be a really fun conversation. There's a lot of speed, there's a lot of dynamism, there's a lot of momentum that shows up for both of you this summer with regard to the question, what's next? Because this is a Sagittarius for you to really take advantage of this, having clear vision, unapologetic vision, a real understanding of the final end product, as opposed to here's what I want because this is what's available. No, here's what I want because it's what's in my spirit. This is what I was born to do. You guys understand the distinction, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're being asked to understand and focus on when it comes to calling in this next step. I'm going to pause there. I'd love to ask, since I said, I don't know if I need to tell you. I think you already know based on the timeline that I'm seeing. What's the magic you're brewing over there, Diana?
Well, my startup right now is going through an M&A process. So we might be partnering with a new company. So it's this idea of a big transition, a big, very positive transition in the work that we're doing. And we're in the holistic health space. Kristen and I are kindred spirits. So we focus on trauma recovery specifically, and I found a really great partner, and we're trying to see kind of where everything lands and also how my soul path will evolve as a result of this partnership. As I'm sure you can relate, when you answer the call around some kind of professional or personal pursuit, you just do a lot of listening, right? And a lot of tapping into the knowing. And then things can come in, catalysts can come in, partnerships can come in, opportunities can come in. And you have to discern whether or not it's the right thing to do. And it's feeling right. And this opportunity will allow me to kind of steward and evolve the original concept that we were working on for my startup and bolster it in a really meaningful way with real clinical research. But yeah, just feeling into different aspects of that, right? Like, what does the new team look like? What do our first kind of go-to-market strategies look like? And it's all very exciting, but a lot of it is up in the air. So I'm waiting to see how the dust settles.
It does look like it settles quite favorably this year concerning the way this is set up based on what I'm seeing. And it also looks like it happens quite quickly. It does look like it's that June timeframe. Early June is when I see, okay, conversations move forward and then they move forward at speed. When this happens, it does change, as I'm sure you're aware, public perception of you, because your role will change. It changes the way you're perceived, this sort of thing. I'd love to go deeper with you, not here. There are some challenges that I'm seeing having to do with sustaining sovereignty and maintaining creative control and vision and direction. And there's a way to navigate this without compromise. And so for right now, because that's going to be a much longer conversation, what I will say is that what's going to serve you best in this along those lines is to be really clear about your personal boundaries and sustaining the integrity of this work. Be clear about what the foundational, this can change, but that can never change, is in terms of what this service is and what it provides. Because there will be requests. When are there not requests in a partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
There will be requests that have the capacity to fundamentally shift the product output in a way that may leave you questioning, was this the right thing? And there's a way to avoid that, specifically by being very clear about the skeleton frame of this project. Like, what can never change. Outside of that, your partners look very powerful. They look like they bring a lot to the table in terms of being able to quantum leap this forward and get it the visibility that it needs in a way that allows your project, what you've been working on, your startup, to be visible in the space and impactful in the space in a way that nothing else is going to be able to touch it for a while. So congratulations. This looks wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Very exciting. Kristen, what do we have time to do next?
I think it will be time to jump into Zsuzsi's chart, if you're okay with that. Before you do that, you said there was a similarity in their charts. If they're okay with it, you want to jump into that first and then transition into Zsuzsi's. Will that work?
Yeah,
And
totally.
wanted to introduce you to Zsuzsi. Here she is. She's also an entrepreneur.
It's
Hi,
welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so on top we have Zsuzsi's chart. And Zsuzsi, if you would just double check for me, my fingers did right work. Your birth details are in correctly.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you for confirming. The similarity in Zsuzsi's chart and Diana's chart is this beautiful conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. Both of you have it. Both of you have it in Sagittarius, which lets me know you were born within months of each other in the same year. But it is such a great placement because you're like a walking manifestation portal. And you both have probably noticed this at different times in life where you can decide to move forward on a thing and doorways, gateways turn open, lights turn green. You get opportunities, invitations, and you then hear stories about other friends or colleagues or family members who also decide they're going to move forward on their fill in the blank thing. And for whatever reason, you're just met with obstacle after obstacle or distraction after distraction. It just doesn't seem to quite move in the way there's movement in your life. I see Diana's nodding. Yeah, you've seen this. Zsuzsi, have you seen this as well?
Yeah, I mean, I am a pretty speedy person. There's a lot of momentum when I set my mind on a direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The two of you could be considered accelerants in people's lives. And when it comes to building out projects, when and where you enter is the exact moment when things start to take off. And so even when you were young, I see you both nodding, even when you were younger, you probably even noticed if you went out to party with friends or hang out when you were a late teenager or your early 20s, things just happened around you. Things just took off, or the plans accelerated very quickly or escalated very quickly. Sometimes that'd be a great thing. Other times that would be like a whoops thing. But I see both of you nodding. I'm sure you have great stories. But this is a beautiful energy for really being able to harness the power of creatorship in the third dimension in this lifetime. So please use it. Use it wisely. We need more heart-centered, love-forward creators on the planet. Thank you both for letting me read for you today.
Thank you
So-
so much. Thank
You-
you.
You're very welcome. Congratulations on finding that new partnership. Zsuzsi, what would you like for me to look at for you today?
I have just moved to a new place and I don't know much about astrocartography, but before I moved here, I saw that my MC line was here, which is all about visibility, as far as I know. And something that I'm very clear about is that I'm here to have a very big impact, and I do that through having widespread visibility, specifically public speaking, writing, things of that nature. And so it feels like I'm already accelerating. Like before I moved here, it started to come in, the energy of that acceleration. But I feel like I'm in the turbo seat now. So, anything you can tell me about that would be very valuable. And I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, congrats. I love this for you. And I'm not surprised when I look here at the transits that are unfolding in present time for you. That turbocharge and acceleration is brought on by those same two planets by transit having a conversation with the governor of your midheaven. And the governor of your midheaven is Mercury as the ruling planet of Virgo. Virgo, again, this 10th house, I mentioned it earlier on the podcast, but just as a quick recap, 10th house, and as Zsuzsi said, she called it her MC line, which is this line here. This is that place in the chart where when we step into it, we are us at our brightest source light, incarnate, free from all the conditioning that we broke through from the 4th house, family, culture, race, neighborhood, ethnicity, religion, the programming of our origins. Once we've dropped all of that programming and conditioning in the 10th house, the opposite house, we really step into that divine source light and its radiance in what we're here to do and experience and how we're here to lead. Now, coming into present time, we have the activator, that's Uranus, and then the amplifier, that's Jupiter, speaking to the ruling planet of your midheaven this year. Uranus is already in that communication and has been since the late last year. You probably started to feel this little agitation under the earth beneath you as it was like, okay, I got to step into this. Now's the time to move, time to go. Maybe even a few key conversations and collaborative, either partnerships or a few keywords from partners may have been spoken to you, or shifts in partnership may have opened a gateway for you. And then we see Jupiter here on the amplifying side of this, moving into a sextile for you as Jupiter comes to arrive at early degrees of Leo in the month late June, early July. And as that amplification happens, the agitation happened. I got to move, I got to go, I got to do. Now that you're in it, Jupiter is going to pour some gasoline on this fire for you. Can you feel it already? You are
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on.
Well, I've just like the most random things have started to come into my field. Like all of a sudden, a magazine reached out to do an article about me. Like never have that has that ever happened. Like videos that I made a few months ago started going viral again and creating more conversations on my social media. And I just feel like there's this, it's not restless anymore. It was, but now it's just like, let's go. I'm ready.
Absolutely. And you've taken advantage of this perfectly by positioning yourself in from an astrocartography perspective on a link to your MC line. That will really, those transits were coming regardless. So there would have been this opening career-wise for you, even had you not moved. But the fact that it is now this next level up, like 3 levels ahead of where you were, sort of coming out of nowhere, you didn't have to try for it. It's just happening, coming in, going viral again on content that you've already published. You didn't have to publish or work for new content. You know, a magazine reaching out, having heard about you, you didn't have to go find PR. PR came to find you. I actually had that happen to one of my clients this month as well. This is, you positioned yourself, you participated, and now the planets can actually do an even bigger blessing for you. And I want to really be clear that this is, again, sort of that conversation that we were having earlier around the intersection between fate and free will. The stars can only do so much if all you ever do is sit in your house and you don't go out and you don't want to meet new people and you don't want to put your work out there. There's nothing for them to magnetize toward you. When we show up with our part of the soul work, with our part of the process, that's really where they can show up and do their magic. They can throw the party, but we have to choose to attend. So really, congratulations on this. You have one more question for me or any clarifiers about what I just shared?
Well, it was very valuable, I feel like, what you shared with Diana of what may not hinder, but something to look out for. And something that I heard or was trying to understand about being on my MC line is to not stretch myself too thin, because there's going to be so much at one point in terms of opportunity that I need to really pick and choose, because I don't want this to be a flash in the pan. What I'm really doing here and have been doing for a long time is building. Like you said, I was like, if I build it, they will come. And like now it's happening. So if there is anything more to understand about that, I would be so grateful.
Of course. By way of addition, I will share that what's happening this year is part of a series of years where there is momentum building for you. And so while I don't have something cautionary based on your positions and the choices that you're making, like I'm making a choice to step into an M&A partnership. There were certain positions in her chart that were like, okay, that's going to come with certain things you need to be very mindful of. What I'm seeing on your side is that this is going to be a bit more of a marathon, not a sprint. It won't be a flash in the pan. That counsel about your MC line is correct, but I would like to refine it for you to say the vision we have when about what's possible for us in terms of the kind of quality of life we can have when we live in a town of 20,000 people is very different than the vision that's possible, what's possible for us when we live in a town of 2 million people. I don't know where you technically move from or move to, but what I am seeing based on what's about to happen with these transits as Jupiter moves from 8 to 9 this summer. 9 is part of the PR axis. It's part of the visibility axis, PR and marketing. And then Jupiter, again, as the amplifier moves into 10, this will be the second half of next year. And then in the following year, it'll remain in 10. What this is telling me, because wherever Jupiter goes, he brings expansion and growth. Whatever your vision was for your business in the last season, you need to make it bigger. I don't know what you envisioned before, but you have just stepped into first the MC line, which was brilliant on your part to precede this particular transit, which is Jupiter heading toward the 10th house. But what I will say is that you skipped a few steps in terms of where your vision can grow, and you need to make it huge, significantly bigger. Can you do
Well, you
that?
were right on. It was right on. I did move from a town of 20,000 to 2 million. So, like, literally.
Oh, sometimes I channel stuff like that. It just sometimes I'm not looking for it. The information just the clairvoyant comes on.
Yes. And I do feel that in terms of the vision expanding exponentially, but it's almost like and I don't know if you've had other clients say this, it's like, I know it's big, but I don't know what it is. And I don't feel like I have to know. I put one foot in front of the other, feeling like this is taking the aligned actions. And as I take aligned action, it will reveal itself. One thing that I do know that that I would really like to do is a TED Talk. That's something that's been on my vision for a very long time. And right before I came here, I told a friend that we were moving, and she was like, "Oh, you're doing your TED Talk there." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Sounds good to me.
Perfect. The reason I provided the counsel to shape your vision is because your midheaven is Virgo. And the refinement on the counsel that you saw about living on your MC line what was it again? Don't let yourself get overwhelmed by all the options.
More like, don't stretch yourself too thin, burnout.
This is why my counsel was have an idea. Virgo represents discernment and decision making. And knowing what you want will allow the universe to really show up a bit and say, okay, here are some ways we can play together. Here's some ways we can dance on the dance floor without burning you out, without causing you to feel like, okay, there's too much and I can't hold it all. Either way, I'm expecting to know your name in a very, not a single post viral way, but in a household name kind of way in the next 3 years.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely, Zsuzsi. It's an honor to read for you. You've got this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was amazing. And both Diana and Zsuzsi, they are like soul sisters. They are amazing. And so grateful that you guys were here today. I'm curious, where did alpacas come from? The alpaca farm? Because that's my spirit animal. So I was wondering where that came from, or if that was an animal that you're connected to somehow.
Sure. Sometimes it's not even, I don't have like my mind just opens,
Mm-hmm.
Left brain and right hemisphere, they're syncing. I'm connected to you. I'm
Yeah.
connected to all that is, and it just comes through.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing.
Oh, just one more thank you. That was amazing. You're a master. I can
my
tell.
gosh, I'm honored. Thank you. I really loved reading for you. It was really fun to see. Just intuitively, you didn't have to know astrology to just be guided your MC line. And so,
Yeah, it was so divinely guided being here. And we were like, why? And then finally, I think I need to look up my astrocartography. And I had no idea what I was looking at. And then I started Googling stuff and I was like, oh, okay. Gotcha.
You do human design readings for folks, so there is a little bit of an intersect too, I think, with astrology and pulling in your own intuition too.
True.
Yeah.
True. But actually, technically being here, I'm going against what human design recommends, which is that I be in a mountainous environment. However, I do live on a higher floor now. So we're like faking the mountain over here.
there you go. I love that modern interpretation. That's perfect.
All right, ladies. I'm just gonna be here quiet as a mouse. I'm gonna mute myself, but I am looking forward to seeing what else.
Okay. Are there other questions you wanted to ask before we looked at the final chart? Are there other things you wanted to know?
So I think those will come to me as you pull up this next chart. We'll just kind of see what flows. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we wanted to play with a celebrity who is in the news. And most celebrities are living lives that I don't know that everyone on this podcast would find interesting, but I found something that I think might be universally accessible because so many people are going through career changes right now, calling changes, changes as it comes to mission and service, and big questions around, well, how does it look when I make that sort of change? What do I need to mentally prepare myself for, be aware of, this sort of thing? So I dug into a little bit of research and I found out about an individual who did a very fascinating thing. Let me pull up the details here. Is it in this window? Yes, it is. Here we go. Okay, let me reshare screen. Okay, so there is a gentleman named Scott Vincent Borba, soon to be father Scott Vincent Borba, who was the co-founder of a world-renowned cosmetic company called Elf Cosmetics, ELF Cosmetics. It's a billion-dollar beauty brand, and he sold off his stake in the company, gave away his money to charity, gave away the trappings of luxury to become a priest. And he gets ordained this month in May. Now, I'm not Catholic, non Catholic. I have nothing on the Catholics or the priesthood. I just find that interesting when somebody makes that type of significant leap from one vein to another vein, especially one that is in some way aligned to spirituality as they see it. So, a couple of things here. In third grade, his mom suggested he become a priest, asking if he wanted to be like the priest wearing the robes on the altar. He said he felt called in that moment, went on to do worldly things. And in 2019, so we're going to look at this year by transit, he sold off large quantities of product and gave the proceeds to charity. He announced he was planning to become a Catholic priest. In 2021, he formally resigned from his business ventures and entered formation for the priesthood for the Diocese of Fresno, lives in California, and he will be ordained on May 23rd of 2026. At the time of this recording, it's just before that. He was internationally famous. Before age 30, he spearheaded successful business campaigns for Neutrogena, Sebastian, Joico, Murad, Hard Candy, all brands that people may have heard of. You don't have to wear makeup, but you may have heard of these in the stores. Co-founder of the LF line of cosmetics, which had made him a household name. Now, you guys tell me, if you wear this line, if you know this line, do you say ELF? Do you say ELF? Let us know in the comments. I have no idea. And then he developed a brand of skin balancing water, which I had not heard of. Done some books, a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And now he'll be ordained on May 23rd in Fresno. So I pulled up his chart, did a little sleuthing, not much, just looked at Wikipedia to pull his birthday. Here's his astrology chart. And what we see here is this very interesting things going on in terms of, and what I'm using, and this is going to be helpful for those of you who don't know your birth time. It's okay if you don't know. An astrologer can use something called a sunrise chart and still receive a large quantity of very accurate, detailed information about who you are and what's coming in your life with a birth chart that is a sunrise chart. I find it more accurate than guesswork about a birth time, unless you have specifically worked with somebody who does birth chart rectification. There are astrologers who do that, but that's better than guessing. I find you can't get rectified chart, sunrise chart is wonderful. That's what we're using here for Scott. In his rectified chart, again, we're talking about this career sector that we just talked about with our two guests. This career sector is governed in the sunrise chart by the sign of Aries, which has the planetary ruler, Mars. Mars, at that first degree of Aries, has been receiving a ton of activation since 2019 when we saw he did the initial product sell off. So let's go back to 2019 and just take a look. That was 7 years ago. Go ahead.
One thing that is so interesting is look at the 1 degree, and I don't know if that changes with the birth time, but he has Mars squaring his sun,
Oh, yeah.
and then it's also squaring Pluto. What?
Oh, yeah. So we're going
Wow.
to get into all of it. Absolutely. Anytime you see Mars and Pluto in communication in a person's chart, this is a person who was built for productivity, especially when Saturn is also a part of the communication. And we do see his natal Saturn is a piece of this communication by T-square if you're watching this. But if you're just listening to the podcast, not to worry. What we're going to talk about, I'm going to explain it so you don't have to visually be looking. But when we look at 2019 for him, we see some very interesting activations begin to take place. By transit, we have the planet of power and confronting fear, that's Pluto, and the planet that deals with structural integrity. Are things truly in alignment in the way they're supposed to be? That's Saturn. We have Pluto and Saturn having a communication with the governing planet, that's Mars, of his midheaven sector, according to a sunrise chart. See how it's still very accurate? We're talking about confronting fears, owning our power, structural integrity for who we're meant to be on the planet when we are free from all the conditionings of the world. He felt like he was meant to be a priest. Not for me to say, not for me to not say. That's between him and the divine. But what I can say is that these transits are provoking a massive change of an ending of one season, that's the Plutonian piece, and the start of a more structurally aligned season, that's the Saturnian piece unfolding here. So sure enough, there it is, 2019. He's ready to go. Now, let's fast forward. I believe it was 2021 was the other key date that we saw. Let me pull that back up over here. That was going to be here, 2019. 2021 is when he formally resigned from his business ventures. Let's take a look at the chart for 2021. Notice how this is a multi-year process for him. If you yourself are undergoing a multi-year process, I want to encourage you and let you know you're not crazy. You're not taking too long. These planets move slow to generate clarity and to generate change. If they moved any faster, we might all need straitjackets for this caliber of change. Had he just woke up one morning and said, I'm not going to work, I'm going to church and I'm never coming back. Friends, family, his shareholders, they probably would have put him under, what's that thing they did with Britney Spears? Conservatorship, right? They probably would have thought he went mentally insane. That your process is moving at a clip that your humanity can handle and the people around you can handle is actually a good thing. So if it feels slow, trust it. Just keep going. Okay. Now, we take a look again to see, okay, what changed? He sold everything off. He got out of everything in 2021. What happened in 2021 that would have activated that? a departure. We're going to take a look again here at Mars. Now we see Neptune creeping up on that Mars. What is Neptune? Dissolving things, releasing things, letting go of things, things washing out with the tide. Neptune is also our connection to our spirituality. And so spirituality, connecting to the governor of his career sector, he's going to take a step in a more spiritual direction when it came to his career, something more altruistic, something that had more to do with connecting him more to the divine. It's interesting that this ninth sector from his sun in a sunrise chart, the ninth house, and in this case, ninth sector from his sun, is a sector that specifically speaks to not just spirituality, but religion. He took a religious turn here. See how specific a sunrise chart can get? This is why I like using them. So fascinating, fascinating, fascinating stuff. Also, we see a little barely talked about energy here named Pholus squaring that Mars as well. What this Pholus represents toxicity. It is coming from the sector that deals with partnership and the sign that deals with business structure. With Pholus speaking to his career ambition planet, this lets me know that continuing on the path he would have been on would have been toxic, poisonous to him. And he probably felt that, like, I got to get out of here. I got to stop touching this. It's not working for me anymore. So very fascinating stuff. He'll be ordained. Let's head out to May 23rd. This is when the work is complete. The transition is complete. May 23rd, 2026. Congratulations, Scott, if this ever reaches you. It definitely looks like this was an alignment for your life path. And here we see all of the planets that were activating his natal Mars have come to rest in terms of their total activation. The last one really here being Uranus. Transit Uranus again being a massive activator, a quantum leap creator, having moved 2 degrees out of sextile with his natal Mars. Uranus saying, hey, I've finished with your identity change. You're ready to come out of the oven. Ta-da! Really beautiful. And then Jupiter, the expander, will step into the second house of self-worth, self-esteem for him, and allow him to feel like who he was always meant to be. Really beautiful how the planets do work in our favor when we stop resisting. So well done, Scott. Not my life path, but hey, it looks like you feel aligned and great about it. And it definitely looks like you acted in alignment with the activation of the planets trying to move your life forward. So I love to see it when people do that because it allows me to know they're moving, they're not working, they're not swimming upstream. They're not moving against the current. They're according to the divine will at work in them. They're saying yes to life. And that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Resistance creates blockages, not only in the mind, but in the physiology too. Can create physical illness instead of having that flow, that continual flow. The other thing is the timing. 2021 was when he sold his stuff. I think when COVID hit, it created a lot of change for a lot of people. That was the external activity that may have happened also to say, okay, I'm done with this kind of thing. I'm wondering,
Absolutely.
it'd be interesting to know that. So thank you so much for taking the time today out of your schedule to be on the podcast, to share your wisdom, your passion. Clearly, you're in alignment with your life path. I'm really excited to see how things grow for you because I feel intuitively there's going to be more for you, more expansion for you in this area somehow. The other thing, side note, it would be interesting. I'm not sure, this is like random. It would be interesting to see an astrologer's point of view and human design in interpretation or looking at world events or a person's life path. I'm wondering if that's something in the future that you would ever consider.
I do not know enough about human design at all. So I would be fascinated to collaborate and learn more. Late night rabbit holes, as you know, is kind of
Yeah.
my self-soothing mechanism, I guess you could say. I've been in a few when it comes to human design. And I heard some very interesting things about everything that was to come post 2020. So I would be really fascinated to hear from a human design expert what they're seeing about world events and how that the juxtaposition with what we're also seeing astrologically, what's to come.
Yeah. I'd love to explore more of a conversation with you in the future if that feels like something you would like to do. I am part of her Star Club. I highly recommend it. Please check her website out. Please check out YouTube channel. She has a lot of tools. She does collaborate with a lot of different people, and I've benefited from it personally. If you feel guided, please check it out. I will have her links in the podcast on my social media. I will be sharing her social media as well. We will tag team all of this with the posts. If you feel guided, please take a listen to this podcast episode, its entirety. And thank you again, Kay. It's just, this is always illuminating the information that you share. And you're showing people that this is not a crutch, it's a compass to any area of life. And thank you, Diana and Zsuzsi, for being guests. I hope you gained something out of it based on your response. It looks like you feel like you benefited. And to our listeners, please, if something sparked something, check out Kay's sites. Thank you so much. And
Pleasure to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. Please follow us on Instagram, Your Health is Wealth Podcast. The link to the website is found on the Instagram bio as well. On our website, we list the episodes, and there is an online form where you can share your feedback, ask questions, share input on future topics, and also contact us if you're interested in being featured on the podcast. Topic scope is related to health and wellness. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast today, and look forward to more.